Hello y'all, this is my presentation video for the discussion board on business strategy and aviation 360. U-Haul uses aviation because they have stores in every state and all the provinces. U-Haul is a very large company with over 22,000 dealers, 2,400 stores, and they access all 50 states and every province in Canada. Aviation is a big time saver, and especially with efficiency, because they have to go visit a lot of stores to make sure they're all maintaining, operating just fine, the new builds, making sure everything's being built up to their standards. The fleet that U-Haul uses, at least in its current form, consists of two PC-24s, which is two twin-turbine light jet aircraft. I believe their seat about 10 people. They're very quick. They're awesome airplanes. They're great to be around. One Eclipse jet, which personally I think is a very cool concept. It's almost like a Corvette of the jet world. It is a light twin jet. It's basically the Vision jet before the Vision jet existed, with the ability to have two jets. And then they have three PC-12s, which I think are personally the coolest airplane because they have such short takeoff and landing capabilities. They have the PT-6 and are often suited with modern avionics, and especially that cargo door. I like that cargo door. I could put dirt bikes in the back, golf bags, jet ski, whatever it might be, whatever I could think of, I could throw in the back with its max payload. They can carry quite a bit. But they have what I personally think is a very, very cool fleet of aircraft. And if I were to pick something, I would pick the PC-12 and the Eclipse jet anyway. So I'm very on par with that, and I like that. They have a very unique model, which I think is very, very cool. They don't have any dispatch system. So pilots operate independently from one another. They are given the keys to an airplane at the beginning of their work week, and then they're given a destination where that airplane has to be at the end of the week. And depending on where the executives request to go for their duration of their trip, which I'll talk about more in a second, is where the pilots make up their flight plan to go to. They go visit, and the executive will say, hey, how early can we be here in the morning? And that's how their week is ran. So I like that there's no dispatch. It makes pilots very self-run, and it makes you almost feel like you are your own boss and operating for that one executive, not for the company, for that week that you're flying. So the pilot schedule starts, you have 7 days on, 7 days off, and on your first day on, you'll airline in to go to wherever that airplane is, or one of the PC-12s, wherever that airplane is. You will be assigned with an executive that is also assigned for that week, and then you will fly around to wherever that executive needs for the entire week, and you have the high autonomy because you are the sole manipulator of the airplane. Every aircraft that U-Haul uses is a single pilot use, and they're able to pick exactly where they want to go based on weather and short haul flights, less than 150 nautical miles at a time, they say, often, and be able to be their own boss and visit up to 20 stores a week. On the executive side and how efficient aviation is for those executives, they have 33 regional vice presidents that need to travel to go see each of their 100 stores about that they manage. And it's a lot of stores and a lot of VPs. So with each of those three aircraft, they're rotating through and they get a turn with each of the airplanes. And it turns out to be about every 6 weeks because they have 33 VPs, 3 aircraft. That gives them a rotation schedule. They usually get about once every 6 weeks. And it helps improve efficiency because that means that those executives are not having to drive to those locations, store locations. They get to fly and they get to go visit maybe 4 or 5. Whereas if they were to drive, they'd only get to see 2 or 3. And they have to stop, find a hotel that might be out of the way. And it really helps improve the efficiency with not only time, but as well as what they can be doing. You're being paid for your intellectual thoughts and not for commuting time whenever you're flying private like that. With them flying around, it's very efficient because it's faster travel. There's more productive time. So like I said, executives are being paid for their intellectual time, not their commute time. So there's less wasted time in their schedule. They can have more time off because they get their tasks done quicker. And there's very, very high operational efficiency with how they rotate out the executives with the jets, as well as, excuse me, they have the week with the jet. They just follow it around wherever that executive needs to go for that week to manage its stores. And then they just hand the keys off to the next executive and the next pilot, and that's where they decide to go. One thing that I admire a lot about U-Haul is their company culture with responsibility, authority, and accountability. It really instills autonomy with you as a pilot. You don't feel like you're having your manager dispatch second guess every decision you make, because U-Haul puts trust in their pilots to be single pilot operators, and they give you the keys, and it's very, here you go, kid. Make sure you bring the airplane back in one piece on Friday, and that's the position that they have as a company, because they are very aware of who they hire. They make sure that you're a pilot that can understand how thunderstorms work, understand icing, understand how to read weather, and make your plans and plan accordingly, whether there's gas, NOTAMs, whatever it might be. And it is a very actualizing work environment to be in. I would enjoy working there as a pilot. Even as an executive, that would be a cool experience for me to have. The coolest thing that I think about U-Haul after reading this article was the aviation history, the historical perspective that the founder of U-Haul was using a Cessna 182 since the beginning of U-Haul to fly between its different locations, to scout out new locations. And that's how he scaled to a nationwide company and to what it's run today. And it's a very efficient and effective business model. And I think it's proven so with upgrading from a 182 to several Pilatuses and an Eclipse jet. And that is a very cool thing that I admire. In conclusion, the comparisons that we find in the textbook, reasons for business travel and how to make sure that it's effective and you're not just wasting time and money, is the time efficiency, because you're not having to go to an airport, go through TSA lines, wait for a scheduled 121 flight, whatever that might be. So time is of the essence, and it's especially proven in this U-Haul business model. It gives more access to locations because you don't have just the major hubs and then the regional airports. You have whatever municipal airport you need to go visit between your locations. And it gives you more access to more remote locations that you might not would have had anyways. Then the last point is its return on investment in its business efficiency. If you have a cost, we'll say $1,000 per flight hour, where you're giving an executive that one flight hour, and they maybe 3 or 4 flights a day, that's $4,000 a day that they're using in aviation. Whereas that would have maybe taken them 2 or 3 days of travel to go do their one trip that they did in one day. And it really puts back money into the executives and U-Haul's pocket, because they're not having to spend time on travel with wasted time, because they're efficient with how they operate. And it's a very great business model. Here you can see my reference that I used for the NBAA article that I read through and our textbook. Thank you. Appreciate you watching.